Good morning, everybody. It's Nicole Mangina with Windermere Real Estate, and this is the 425 Show. Thanks so much for tuning in this morning. This is your place to be for all things real estate and lifestyle related in the 425. And we have an awesome guest with us this morning, Amy Allen. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Amy is a Windermere agent. We have known each other for, gosh, I don't even know how long. A long time.
Long time.
Over in Paulsbo.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Great to be here.
Thanks. So I am excited you're here because the show's about the 425, but we all know that you have to leave your area code, every once in a while. It's good, right? You got to get out and venture out. So Paulsbo, the Kitsap Peninsula, is great and relevant, I think, because for lots of different reasons. One, great weekend adventures, right? If you're looking for a fun place to go do something different.
Absolutely.
Second homes, because that is a definite 425 thing. Can't tell you how many people I know in the 425 that have second homes. A lot of them are over on the Kitsap Peninsula.
Yes.
And also, as our market gets more expensive and people start to broaden their search horizons for where they're going to live for even their personal residence, they're starting to look at Kitsap, especially as they're increasing that ferry service, right?
Absolutely. The ferry service is getting better, adding in the passenger-only boats.
Yes.
And so it's becoming more frequent and easier for people to get to. So the folks that have been commuting from either the south end or the north end to downtown Seattle are looking at that ferry now and going, wow, okay, well, maybe a ferry commute isn't so bad.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of the same amount of time, sometimes less, and then less stress because you can get on, read the paper, do emails, whatever you need to do.
Absolutely.
And not have to be in traffic and so concerned about that.
Right. Yep.
So
great.
Perfect. So I always like asking real estate agents, how did you get into real estate?
So I owned a deli sandwich shop with my parents a long time ago.
Okay.
And when it came time to sell the business, I was looking around for what I was going to do next. And I really didn't want to go back into an office job and work for somebody else since I was working for myself. So someone, actually one of our steady clients, suggested, he said, why don't you look at real estate? Because you love people, you love being around people and talking and everything. Why don't you do that?
Yeah.
That would be a great profession for you. So I did, and I got licensed, and here I am 16 years later. So
isn't it great?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think, and that's what cracks me up about real estate. It's funny, our youngest, our 5-year-old, he just had his little 5th grade promotion from elementary school.
Oh, yeah.
And part of that ceremony is everybody has to predict what they're going to be at 25 years old. Nobody predicted they were going to be a real estate agent.
No.
There's nobody out there thinking, when I grow up, this sounds amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of fall into it one way or another.
Yeah.
But then once you get into it, you realize it's kind of a good gig, right?
It is.
You get to meet these really amazing people. The properties are always fun, but there's just a lot of great things about real estate that once you get into it, I think are great.
Yeah, there's so many different moving parts to it.
Yes.
And it's the same, yet it's different every time depending on who you're helping.
Right.
And where they're going and where they're at in their life. So it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. And I love that we come in, at least I know for myself, I think all real estate agents, you come into contact with different types of people with different interests, meaning,
yes.
And different jobs and different backgrounds that I wouldn't otherwise.
Right.
And I just think that's so cool.
And totally different personality types. You get the engineers.
I know.
You
And
get
the artists and the creatives.
Exactly.
And a little bit of everything.
Exactly. So it is. It's a whole mix of people, and it's great. I mean, it definitely has its challenges, as we know.
Right.
But really, I couldn't think of anything else I'd want to do at this point.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's great. And you're perfect at it.
Oh,
I know. I've sent clients to you over the years, and they always rave about you.
You're so sweet.
So, yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. So let's talk about the Kitsap Peninsula. What's real estate like over there? What do we need to know?
So real estate's it's crazy like it is here in Seattle. We're not as Seattle crazy, but I think like you said earlier, we're seeing more people that are moving over that are getting pushed out of your pricing market.
Right.
And they're coming over to our side and they're saying, wow, look at this. Look at what I can get for XYZ. Our average price right now in Paulsbo is just over 400,000. The average list price actually was 409 last week.
Okay.
And the average closing price is 424. So we're definitely seeing that going
about
over
half.
the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're about half of what you are here in the 425.
There you go. I know we were talking about it before the show. It's like the Nordstrom sale of real estate.
Right.
I know it starts tomorrow. It's totally on my brain. I have it on the calendar and everything.
Mine too. Absolutely.
The Nordstrom sale starts tomorrow. Great. And so what type, and the schools are good over there as well, right?
Yeah, the schools are great.
Okay.
We have an interesting demographic. We do have a lot of military because of our presence with that, with the shipyard in Bremerton and Naval Base Bangor and Keyport. So we have a lot of folks that have been in the military and they've actually, out of all their ports of call, have decided they want to come back to Kitsap. So they end up, buying a house and then holding on to it and then coming back to it several years later.
Okay.
So that's been a lot of fun.
That's great.
And then, of course, helping the first-time home buyers, too, is a big market as well.
First-time home buyers have a special spot in my heart. I think, anytime you buy or sell a house, it's a big deal, right? But there's just something so momentous, and it's such a big honor to help somebody with their first home.
Absolutely. I love it. They're one of my favorite segments to work with. It's a real education.
Yes.
And it just, it takes you back, I think, every time. It takes me back to all my first-time home buyer stories and my own first-time home buyer experience.
Oh, for sure.
And it's just, it's a lot of fun.
It is. I remember when I bought my first place, there's certain moments in your life you're like, ooh, I'm an adult.
Right.
You sign that contract
real quick.
Like, I am an adult.
This is
There's
adulting.
no messing around.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I remember my first home was just off of Green Lake on 83rd.
I love it. Yeah, in Seattle.
And it was very interesting. We went back to do our final walkthrough inspection, and we found someone living in the crawl space. So
living in the crawl space?
Living in the crawl space.
Oh, my goodness.
Like a homeless person living in the crawl space.
What did you do?
I looked at our agent and said, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I wouldn't know what to do.
So it was
police,
it was pretty crazy, but that's probably about as crazy as
but they were out by the time
they were out
closed,
and a whole process of getting them out. Yeah, so it was very interesting. Yeah,
real estate.
Yeah. That was a long time ago, and that was when you could get a house on 83rd for $114,000.
Oh my gosh! Don't you wish you'd bought 10 of them?
Wish I still had it.
That's funny. So let's talk about second homes in Kitsap. We were talking about that before the show. You said that there's a lot of that going on right now.
So there's definitely a growing segment, I think, in the second home market on that side. People are seeing, they're coming over and they're spending time on the peninsula and saying, this is great and we don't have to go very far. It's a ferry. Yeah, you have to deal with maybe a ferry backup or two, but I'm seeing a lot of people that are actually coming over earlier. They come over on a Thursday.
Okay.
And then they go home on Monday.
Yeah.
And they can telecommute.
Perfect.
Internet, so that works out great.
Yeah.
And so that, it's interesting a couple of weeks ago when I was putting some things together for us to talk about, I noticed just within our 2 miles of my house, there's actually 5 houses that I know of that have sold in just the last 3 months that are all 425 people.
Oh, interesting.
And they're all vacation homes.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Well, and, I think people realize the whole idea of a second home, I think, is beautiful, right? Because I love the idea that this is your place to just relax and be a family and you're not running around doing whatever, but not having to get on an airplane. I think increases your usability substantially.
Absolutely.
Because you can buzz over for a day or a weekend or long weekend, that type of thing.
Or a week or two in the summertime when you have more time. It's been very interesting. Kitsap Peninsula is really a gateway to the Olympic National Forest.
Which is gorgeous.
I literally live 20 minutes away from Mount Walker Trail.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Love it.
Which is just amazing.
Yes.
Just last year, we discovered a waterfall that's 2 miles away from our house.
Really?
And so it's just like, wow, this is like our backyard.
That's pretty cool. I love waterfalls. Awesome. So you've got waterfront over there. You've got access to the peninsula and the park and all of that. That's great. Yeah. What are some of the other things that people do over in the Kitsap County?
We have a lot of different festivals throughout the year. We just had Viking Fest in Poulsbo
Really?
back in May.
That's awesome.
Is the Norwegian holiday. Poulsbo is known as Little Norway.
Okay.
So there's a lot of Scandinavian people there, and just a lot of heritage. There's a great little heritage museum in downtown Poulsbo. Lots of shopping, of course.
Okay.
Great restaurants.
Okay.
And
what are some of your favorite restaurants?
Fun things. Storna Divino is one of my favorites.
Got it.
Just had lunch there a couple weeks ago.
Awesome.
Really nice. And then for outdoor, especially for this time of year, the Loft is really good. It's another good one that overlooks downtown Poulsbo.
Oh, nice.
Bay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Perfect. And what else? Like if I was going to come over and spend the day there with my family, what would you recommend that we do?
Well, you probably need to go to Sly's to get a couple donuts, I'm sure.
I love donuts. That is the perfect food. Deep fried carbs and sugar.
Yeah, exactly.
Makes me so happy.
Maybe a little shopping in downtown Poulsbo.
Okay.
Head out to Port Gamble, which is...
that place is adorable.
Yes.
Looks like a movie set.
It does.
And what's the whole story with that? Because it's just these adorable little buildings. They look like they're from the 20s or something.
And they are. They're historical in value, and that's all owned by Pope and Talbot. And they rent out a few of the houses, and then there's some smaller shops and restaurants that are there. The Butcher and Baker is one of our favorite that we go to. And they do festivals
it's kind of right
out
on
there
the water,
too.
Right? It's kind of right on the
It's
point.
right on the water.
You walk around and check out the little things.
Yeah, there was a mill. There was a paper mill there
a
long time ago. It's since gone now, but so there's a lot of history there that's pretty amazing.
Got it. We drove through there one time on our way back, and it was kind of late in the day, and we wanted to make the ferry, so we didn't stop. But I just thought, wow, this place is totally cool.
Yeah, it's cute. It is really cute.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so what else would we do?
We've
got donuts.
See.
We've gone to
got
Port
donuts.
Gamble.
You got Port Gamble. If you head across the Hood Canal Bridge, Port Ludlow, there's a great resort and golf course there.
Oh, okay.
It's fantastic.
Got it.
They do a cool movie night that's coming up actually in August.
Yeah.
They do an outdoor movie.
Oh, nice.
At the resort there. They
What's
put
the
up
name
a
of the
couple
resort?
Screens. Port Ludlow.
Okay.
Resort.
Okay, got it. My husband's a golfer. Maybe
Golf
we'll go over
course.
and check it out.
Golf course is great.
Okay.
Let's see what else. They do a great wine dinner there too, where they pair wines with dinner,
fun.
and they bring in a vintner and set that up there at the resort. And then beyond Finn River, the cidery in Finn River, it's in Chimicum, so we're going a little bit further west. It's a lot of fun. They do they bring in music and have different themes. They bring down Hamma Oyster, which is on the Hood Canal. They come and do an oyster night there. And
awesome. Is there a season? There is a season for oysters, right?
There is.
Okay, what's the oyster season?
That's a good question.
Okay, that's fine. We'll look it up. We'll have it on the website.
Yeah.
You can always check out. We'll have all of these links on the website, by the way, after the show. If you go to NicoleMangina.com/podcast, we'll have Amy's contact information, obviously, so that if you want to look at properties over in the Kits app or find out more about it, Amy's a phenomenal resource. I highly recommend you reach out to her. But all of these great things that she's talking about, if you want to plan a trip over there or just go over and check it out, we'll make sure we have those for you to, have all the information and know where to go find them. So again, that's NicoleMangina.com/podcast. So great. Well, let's get back to real estate a little bit. So you've got a lot of military stuff over there. People are coming over from the 425 buying second homes.
Right.
For sure. You've got the first-time home buyer market. If somebody lives in, let's say, Poulsbo, and they wanted to commute into Seattle, what does that look like from a timing standpoint? How long would their commute be?
Sure. So depending on what they're doing, there's a great transit system that's set up. They have a shuttle that runs between Poulsbo and the ferry terminal on Bainbridge Island.
Okay.
That runs from Bainbridge to downtown Seattle.
Okay, got it.
And so that's probably, I'm guesstimating, probably 45 minutes.
Okay.
Total.
Okay, like door to office door kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's
and then
great.
The ferry ride is 35 minutes.
Okay.
It's pretty quick.
Got it.
It's a great
45
ride.
plus 35 or 45 total?
45 plus,
plus
the 35.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not bad, though.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
It's not.
That's awesome.
And you don't have to drive. That's the great thing is,
right.
Why drive and be on the freeway for that length of time? You can have somebody else do it, and you can get some work done or catch up on reading or puzzle. A lot of times there'll be just a random puzzle on the ferry.
Really?
I love it. Someone
That's
will
great.
just bring a puzzle onto the ferry.
Yeah.
And people will just sit down and contribute to putting together the puzzle.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
What a great way to meet people too.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of my clients that commute in some manner, whether it's a shuttle or a bus or something like that. Even, my executive clients, because it's just easier for them, right? Or they'll drive to a park and ride and hop on a bus or something like that.
Yeah.
They've just decided that that's a better way to do it, which makes a lot of sense. And they're starting to get it down where things are running often enough. They feel like they can always accommodate whatever their timing is.
Right.
Based on the different commute schedules and stuff
And
like
especially if you're working in downtown Seattle like that. It's so easy to jump off the ferry and you can literally walk through the buildings.
Right.
And get up to 4th or 5th Avenue.
That's awesome.
It works out really well.
Very cool. Awesome. And how long have you lived out there? Because you said you lived in Seattle first and then you've been out.
I did. I was born and raised on Bainbridge Island.
Okay.
And then moved away.
Got it.
Came back and went to Seattle.
All right.
And came back.
Got it.
Pretty nice place to live.
It is.
So I came back and I love it. I love coming to Seattle. I love our proximity that we're able to just jump on the ferry and go to the Pike Place Market.
Yes.
And do whatever downtown, go to Nordstrom, go to the sale.
Yes.
But it's just nice to be able to get back on the ferry and head back. Our traffic is starting to get a little thicker, but obviously we're not anywhere near this side.
Right. So. Exactly. Okay, and you've got some new developments going on over there too, as well, don't you? McCormick Woods, I know, is over there.
McCormick Woods has some newer homes that are going up right now, and then there's a couple in Paulsbo as well that Quadrant Homes is doing.
Got it.
And those Quadrant Homes near the Paulsbo Elementary School. Is I think their prices right now are starting in the high. Actually, they're into the 5s now. They're starting out in the 5s.
But still, it's quite a bit less than over here,
it
for
is.
sure. And to be able to get a new home close to a school is fantastic.
And great square footage and close to everything as far as grocery stores and services go.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great. So you've got Kitsap. We've talked about the new construction over there, and then that kind of goes into Bainbridge. You mentioned Bainbridge Island as well, right? And do you work that area as well a little bit?
I do.
Okay.
And I've it's interesting, actually. I have been helping several people over the past couple of years. That have lived on the island forever. That were living there when I was growing up there.
Oh, got it.
And they've decided to come off the island now. So getting them transitioned over to Paulsbo or Kingston.
And what's the difference living kind of Bainbridge versus like a Paulsbo or a Kingston in terms of the real estate market, commute, kind of phase of life? Why would you pick one versus the other?
Right. So Bainbridge, closer to the ferry.
Got it.
So you're right there. Depending on where you're at on the island, you're right there. To the.
So if you're working and doing a lot of commuting, you might look a little bit more in Bainbridge than you would Paulsbo.
Price wise, you're looking at right now their average sell price is $894.
Okay, so higher.
So they are
quite a bit higher.
They are.
Got it. Okay. Very cool.
It's a great community.
Yeah.
It has changed a lot.
Okay.
Of course, like every community does.
Yeah.
But it still has a real small town charm feel to it.
Okay.
A lot of condo complexes have gone in over the years.
Got it.
It's made it easier for people that do want to be closer to the ferry. Actually, I have a gal right now that's looking at a couple of them that are right there next to the ferry terminal, so just walking right into the terminal and onto the ferry.
Oh, that sounds delightful.
Super
actually.
Close. It does.
And then I know Bainbridge, right at the ferry dock, they've got a darling little downtown as well with some great restaurants and
great restaurants, wonderful shopping, and again a great. They just had their 4th of July festival that they've been doing forever since I was a little kid.
Yeah,
and so that's always a lot of fun too.
That's great.
Yeah,
I love it. Perfect. So, so it sounds like Bainbridge, a little bit more expensive for sure. So you've got condos, but I think, don't you guys have, and I have to admit, so obviously, clearly I am not the real estate expert over there because I have to ask you. I know you've got condos, but you've got charming neighborhoods, but you've also got some rural property over there as well, right? If people want a little more space, room to breathe, all of that.
More established neighborhoods. The older neighborhoods have the bigger lots.
Okay.
There's some acreage.
Got it.
Definitely, the further you go out to Paulsbo or Kingston, you're going to get into a little bit more acreage.
Okay.
There's a real popular neighborhood in Paulsbo that's called Woods and Meadows.
Okay.
And those are all on about half acre lots, which is great. You've got a great backyard.
Yeah.
fenced and still close in, though, too. So
got it. Nice. So, it makes me want to go spend
a little bit of everything. I know. You should come over.
I think I will. Well, let's talk about the market too. Just as a whole, we were talking about this again before the show started. And I think it's so interesting right now. You know, we're in our market's fast and furious. Yours has been too. We're into July now. And it's interesting because everybody, the inventory's up, right? There's lots of things in the news about, oh my gosh, the inventory's up. Is the market changing? Starting to get that question from both buyers and sellers of, you know, what does this mean? Media loves to jump in and turn lots of things into it. Or make something out of it that I think is really not there. So let's set the record straight on the 425 show. Here's what's going on, people. This happens every single year. Even in an escalating market, there are always two market cycles. We're in the overarching market cycle of an increasing market, right? And we've been in that for the last number of years now. But within that, there's still a 12-month market cycle. And almost always the majority of the appreciation happens in the first half of the year, right? You guys see that where you're at too. I know I was talking with Alan Pope, who is a super respected appraiser the other day. He said, you know, the first half of the year prices appreciate about 2% a month. The second half of the year, it's only about 4% for the whole second half of the year. Right. And we are absolutely seeing that. You know, the inventory is lowest in February, March, and April. And I'm sure you see that too, right? Yes. Which creates the biggest sense of loss or fear of loss for buyers, which is then when they jump in and they're like, we'll do anything and everything. Take it all. We just want this house, right? Yeah. And so the prices go way up. And then we get, I always refer to it as buyer fatigue. Yes. It hits in June. And sure enough, boom, it hits this year because you can only push a buyer so hard for so long. And they start to decide, maybe we really want this house, but you know, we have some parameters and some limits and some curbs, plus more things start coming on. So buyers are motivated to bid for a house, but they're also pretty confident that another house will come on the market next week if this one doesn't come together. Right. Right? You guys have the same
Exactly. And
thing.
I feel like now if a house has been on the market for more than 5 days, what's wrong with it?
Yes.
It's been on for 5 days.
I know. And oh my goodness, you don't want to be the sucker that buys it, right? House is great. The market's just, you know, it's going through its normal June, July, August thing. Yeah. Because it has happened to me for 3 years in a row now. And, you know, now that I've been through this a couple times, I talk with my sellers about it, where we put you put a house on the market in June or July, and you know, usually we put it on, we do all this marketing, and then we have an offer review date. And in a perfect world, you get multiple offers and it goes over the asking price. And sometimes now you get to the offer review date and maybe you only have one offer. Right. And maybe it's only